This week was a grim week for the economy. All of the information that came out, and there was a lot of it, was uniformly bad. The main economic indicators for the third quarter of the year, that's the July-September period, including GDP, GNP, employment and the balance of payments, gave very little reason to think that the economy has reached a bottom and is recovering. Gross domestic product, or GDP, is the widest measure of economic growth. We saw a considerable contraction in the third quarter compared to the previous quarter. That said, in the first two quarters of the year, that was stronger than had been anticipated. So I think overall, from the gross domestic product figures, we can say that the economy continues to bump along the bottom, and the third quarter was a painful bump downwards. Gross national product is a narrower measure of economic growth, and it excludes a number of things, but most importantly for Ireland, it excludes the profits of multinational corporations, which are very big in this country because the presence of multinationals is very big and important. By that measure, we saw an even larger decline, and the trend for that measure of economic activity has been downwards for about a year now, and that is more negative than a bumping along the bottom scenario. It suggests the economy it continues to contract over the period of a year. And then domestically, when we look at the economy domestically and we exclude imports and exports, that was the really grim number that we got today. By that measure, in the third quarter, the economy contracted by 3.6%. That is a very big contraction for a single quarter. Now, the statisticians today were at pains to point out the volatility of these numbers in Ireland. They tend to move up and down more than most other countries. That is an important caveat, and it is likely that the final quarter of the year will show some growth. All of that said, the third quarter was very weak, and the corroborating evidence for that came earlier this week when we got third quarter data for employment. And those figures showed that the numbers of people at work in the economy contracted by more than 20,000 in just a 3-month period. That was a very big decline, bigger than I expected, and one of the biggest declines in 2 years. All of the data we got this week in relation to the economy in the third quarter were quite depressing and suggest that the economy is not about to recover, and given international developments in the final quarter of the year, there must be considerable cause for concern.